So here's what the Buddhists don't tell you about breath meditation. I first learned breath meditation, anapanasati, in a Thai Buddhist temple. When they taught us, they said, okay, focus on the breath. And at first, they had us focus on the breath in general. And then they said, okay, you can narrow it down and focus on the sensation of breath, usually at the tip of the nose or around the nostrils or on the upper lip, the Hitler stash area. That's where you would look to the breath and you just follow it. If you're a Zen person, they say even less. They say just sit there and you'll eventually figure it out. This is something that's different about the tantric teachings because they actually go into more technical detail and they tell you what to look for, which I found to be hugely beneficial. Now, you can come to this on your own. And I believe this is what the Buddha, how he taught it for this reason, was because if you're focusing on every minute detail of the breath, and you're spending hours and hours doing it, and that's your main job because you're a monk and that's who he was teaching, then of course you're going to figure out what part of the breath is the key to focus on because it's the part that works. But if you're somebody who is working a job and you got a family and you don't have that much time, maybe a little pointer in the right direction might help. So here it is. Here's the four parts of the breath that are actually the most important to focus on and bring the spiritual results, the real palpable, useful daily results in your life when you're able to catch them and make them the center of your awareness during your meditation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I have a free meditation guide that I'm giving out. So if you are interested, comment meditation below and I'll drop you the link. So the first is the space between the breath. Actually, that's the third one, but we could start there because that's the most interesting one to me. The space between the breath is basically the breath has gone out and it's not coming back in yet. The reason that I know that is a key part is because when you get into deeper states of meditation using the Buddhist methods, which are the primary methods that I use, you actually will come to spots where you are hardly breathing at all. Your breath gets so slow that it's like you almost your entire breath cycle is the space between the breaths. And you don't make this happen. You can't even stop it. And sometimes it feels a little scary because you're like, am I going to suffocate here? Do I need to force myself to get out of this meditation state? But you don't. And in fact, you feel really good at the end. And it's the deeper you get into that space of the breath, the deeper your meditations are and the more profound they are. So it makes sense that the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra would say, look at the space between the breaths. Now, at first, that may be a little difficult to start with. The first step that they give is actually to focus on the spot where the in breath and the out breath change. It's in, out, out, out. And that spot right there, that is what you're looking for. And then the same way with out breath, then in. So the change, basically the apex of the breath or the very lowest point of the breath. That's what you're looking for. Then one step subtler is actually the entire arc of change. So you're breathing in and then it's slowing down, stopped, breathing out, speeding up, then you're breathing out. So it's almost like a pill shape if you think of in and out as up and down, and you're looking for that subtle arc. And in many ways, you're actually looking for that very subtle change between the straight in breath and the subtle out breath. And so, even though this is a wider focus, like in many Buddhist techniques, they say that the tighter that you're focused on your nose, so from like the whole nostrils down to a single point, that is a more profound meditation. Really, they're both more subtle, even though the nose one is more specific in area. The focusing on the entire region of change of the in breath and out breath is more subtle because you're looking for subtler differences in the breath, even though it's over a wider area. And this reminds me a lot of walking meditation, which I was also taught at the same Thai monastery. And in walking meditation, you start with very gross, like I'm moving my leg forward, I'm putting it up and down. And over time, you get into very subtle, okay, the back part of my foot's up, the front part of my foot's up, and so on and so forth. But the subtlest differentiation that they teach you to look for is I am not intending to move. Now I am intending to move. Now the leg is moving up. Now it's moving forward, and there's multiple steps in between there. But now I'm intending for it to stop moving forward. Then it has stopped moving forward. So these things might be microsecond differences, but that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the deepest possible understanding of what's going on, including the thought of something to happen and then it actually happening. And so this step is moving in that direction in the same way as the walking meditation went from gross to subtle. This is gross to subtle. Then the third one was, of course, the one that I just mentioned. the space in between the breaths. And the fourth, and this one I'm not 100% sure on what it means, although I do have an interesting insight. And what it says in the text is that you're looking for the merging of the breaths. And so I've seen commentators talk about this, and they think it's, again, like a middle spot in between the two breaths. And I don't think so. What I've experienced in some of my meditations is that my breaths become so subtle that I can't even tell if they're going in or out. And to me, I think that's what they're looking for. What they're describing in this text is that the breaths become so shallow, subtle, and like undefined that you can't tell which direction it is. And so you've actually merged in breaths and out breaths into a single form of breath, which is indistinguishable. Indistinguishable in that your subtle perception has penetrated as deeply as it possibly can, and you still cannot see a difference. So, anyway, that is what the Buddha missed about breathwork meditation, or at least what they didn't tell you.